Hey, hello everybody, it's Bob Smith from Smith Taekwondo and Pro Sport Kickboxing, defense contractor. Coming to you today to talk about sparring. You know, everybody loves the idea of sparring. It's noble, romantic to think that you and somebody else or a couple of people, you're gonna be standing there moving around shadow boxing like Chuck Norris, throwing kicks millimeters away from someone's face and never really landing them, or having this complete, almost deity-like control of every technique, and that you're never going to get popped, never going to get hurt. And that's one of the reasons that people quit when they first start sparring. You can tell them, because I do, hey, this is Taekwondo, and you're going to have people spinning around backwards and throwing their foot at your face as fast as they can, sometimes up to speeds of 30 miles an hour. So if and when it hits, it's probably going to leave a mark, even if it's controlled. And people are all like, oh yeah, I know, I'm ready for that, I'm down with it. And they get popped by somebody who is clumsy or awkward or vindictive, somebody who wants to see if they can hurt you. And used to get that quite a bit in kickboxing, not so much anymore. Guys would come in and they really wanted to test me. They would swing for the fences, and rightfully so. If I wasn't on my A game, then they would have injured me. But you know, today's society, there is no more of that training, that warrior style training, you know, where you run 5 to 7 miles every day. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that people aren't doing it, because there are some great athletes out there doing it. But overall, people want the quick fix. They want to throw on some tap out shorts or some affliction shorts, and they want to roll around and swing wild and call themselves experienced fighters. So I'm always trying to warn my students of this. I want you to understand that, one, there are people out there that will hurt you, and if they do it in your home, your gym, it's a feather in their cap, because they're saying, hey, look, I've already got a game. Why do I need to train over here? What's this all about? And there is the other student, the one who just doesn't realize. I'll see guys often, intermediate belts, senior belts sometimes, and they will blast a woman as hard as they can kick them, and I will tell them to stop it, or I will intervene, and they will actually resent me. And they're like, well, it's a fight, that's what's going to happen. Well, jackass, first of all, it's not what's going to happen, because if I'm there and I see you hitting a woman like that, I'm probably going to beat the hell out of you. So that lack of control, or that guy that just isn't aware of how hard he's hitting, you have to be very, very aware of other people's skill level as well as their limitations. Because even among experienced fighters, injuries happen on a regular basis. Torn ligaments, torn muscles, fractures, cuts, abrasions. It happens to experienced fighters all the time. So what do you think is going to happen when you have that one person that doesn't realize that they're going that hard? Say guy 210 pounds, he's sparring a girl who's 120 pounds, and he's throwing body shots, roundhouse kicks, full speed. Well, first of all, if you don't recognize that, you probably shouldn't be sparring at all. Then you have the spastic guy, the guy that just wants to go wild everywhere. I constantly have to watch students when they're sparring around windows or around mirrors, because they want to get that one last shot. They feel like they're set up and they just want to take a chance and throw that one last shot. Well, accidents happen every day, and I can tell you that I was sparring with a young man and had the same mindset. I figured I had it controlled, And I did, but he moved forward and my jump back kick landed way harder than it should have. So he stumbled backwards and lost his balance, and he sat into my showcase, a glass showcase. So when we tried to pick him up, he had been severely cut. His tailbone, his glutes, he had several extremely deep cuts. And what a good kid. I felt so terrible. I didn't even want to spar for months after that. It still changed me for life. I mean, once you see such severe damage, you learn to control it. But there are a lot of guys that don't. These guys are out there and they figure, I'm going to throw this spinning hook kick as hard as it can, as hard as I can throw it. And their mindset may or may not be, yeah, I want to knock this guy's head off. It may just be, yeah, I want to land this kick. And they don't realize that the person that they're sparring with or throwing this kick against doesn't have the same ability to determine timing or the same physical agility. So this kind of person can injure you, and a lot of instructors won't even acknowledge out of pride, but even kids can injure you. I've had kids kick me in the groin almost on a weekly basis, and of course that isn't their intention, but you know, we're moving around, the kids are playing, they're having a good time. Everybody wants to spar with the instructor, and they'll throw a shot or two, and man, one will land. And I'll tell you what, I've had kids hit me so hard in the groin that I've felt like I was going to throw up for the next few hours. I've had kids kick me in the groin so hard that I had to stick my hand in there and check for blood. So it isn't like it's just a rare occurrence. I even have adults now that kickboxing, taekwondo, and you know, I preach over and over and over about kicking correctly, pivoting, turning your hips, snap and recoil. And boxers, I literally beg some boxers to please not pull their punches, but they simply will not stop. And you know, they'll kick me in the groin, or they will look shocked when you're tagging them when you're boxing, because they just don't understand, nor will they accept the responsibility that they can actually cause more harm than good if they're out here throwing techniques in the air and pulling every technique just before it lands. And here's an example. You're throwing a straight right hand, and I'm going to try and slip it, and I'm going to throw a body shot, left hook to the body. So you throw your right hand, I start to throw my body shot, and at the last second, for whatever reason, you feel like, oh, I don't want to land this hard. So you pull back on it, and here I am, I'm still committed to the body shot that I'm getting ready to throw, and I land mine, and you look at me like, wow, you hit me really hard just now. First of all, when you're kickboxing, you should be hitting each other with a decent amount of force. There shouldn't be any pulling techniques. There shouldn't. There is all the time, and I hate seeing it. You guys should be able to flow together and mesh together. But sparring also shouldn't be one guy gets tagged, so now he wants to stop and talk about it. You know, how did you get in on me? How did you score that kick? How did you do this? When you're sparring, and you understand that there's a risk to that. You're gonna get tagged, you're gonna get popped, you're gonna give some tags, you're gonna give some pops. And if you can't understand that in plain English, then you shouldn't spar. Now, as far as the kids in Taekwondo style sparring, the kids are pretty safe. They're wearing chest protectors, they're wearing shin and instep protectors, they're wearing headgear. The problem here is when parents want to save money and kids' chin strap comes off their headgear, so they don't want to buy them another one. Well, we start throwing combinations, or the kids get sweaty and they start losing their gear. Then they get hit in the face with some shot that didn't hold their headgear on, and they get injured. Or likewise, they're throwing a kick and one kid's shin guards are broken, so he bends down after every single kick to fix his shin guards. That isn't really fair to the other guy, because the other guy is standing there, he still wants to spar and he wants to counter and throw his own moves, and he's not really getting a chance to do that because one kid's got a set of broken gear. So parents, when it comes to your child's safety, when the gear is broken, old, get rid of it, replace it. Really important for the kid's safety, and we care about that as well. When it comes to the adult sparring, you know, there was a time back when I used to have 30 guys on the floor and we would all be sparring, going as hard as we could, and you know, we would walk out limping every Friday night. And honestly, it doesn't happen that way anymore, because you can see culture changing and society changing, where adults still want to be sort of sheltered, you know, especially the teenage men, men and women in Taekwondo and in kickboxing, where they want you to throw these kicks, but you don't throw them hard. And then they go to a tournament like a national level event and they face off with somebody who's going to test you. And it's a common strategy in Taekwondo. That first kick I throw, I'm going to blast you as hard as I can just to see what kind of a response I get. And a lot of fighters do that. That's their mentality. Kind of gets out that pre-fight jitters. So I come out and I slam you as hard as I can with a round kick. And you've been used to training with control. And no matter what I say, you've been controlling, barely touching or posing, doing the Van Damme, throwing kicks high in the air but never landing that head kick. And now you don't know how to land it, because one of my students told me last week he developed a bad habit. Yeah, no kidding, you sure did develop a bad habit. A habit that's going to set you up for failure, and it's going to prove the theory of every punk in the world who wants to talk about somebody who throws high kicks. Oh, look, his kicks didn't land. Well, it's not that they didn't land, it's that he trained himself never to land it, which is setting him up for disaster. So, you go to a tournament, you get hit with that first hard shot by somebody that you don't know, and you've been sitting around in the warm-up area for the past 90 minutes, so you're kind of sizing up everybody that's your own size. And you're nervous because now you're thinking of everything your instructor ever told you about sparring hard and going as hard as you can go, and wishing that you did, but you didn't, and now you're getting ready to jump into the deep end of the pool. So sparring between men and men, women and women, should be done hard. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to build character. Guys, chicks dig bruises, and ladies, it certainly earns people's respect when they see you going as hard as a man does. As for the kids, like I said, kids are very safe, especially in my gym. We always have a lot of people on the floor watching the kids. And once again, it's the best gift that you can give your child if you don't allow them to play that I'm going to start crying, or I don't know how, or I'm afraid to spar. Because once they learn from a very, very young age that they don't have to be afraid of sparring, they won't be afraid of anything in their whole life. Look at some of the people that you know as adults, and sometimes you'll listen to them say something and you'll look around like, really? Is this person serious? Because they're so fragile, or they're so sensitive, and that they develop that from a very young age. You know, they've been catered to, or they've been protected or sheltered. So get out there, spar hard, sweat. And remember that this is Bob Smith, and blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. Until next time, out.